All righty, welcome into the Gary Ayd Show here on the Cave, cavetalkradio.com, the Cave Talk Radio app. Great to have you aboard. Gary Ayd, Rich Anselmo, and Toby is over here in the background somewhere too. And it's great to have you aboard. Lot to get to today. Question of the day, NBA. Of course, tomorrow is Thursday Night Football. Lot to get to in baseball. Hot stove starting to heat up. And one thing I wanted to get to as we open the show today, you look at the way things are going in the NBA right now. You look at some of the scoring numbers. The Celtics are averaging 121 points a game, which is insane to think about. So 115 is 7 points below their average. And it's easy to say, well, no one plays any defense. Well, you're not allowed to guard anyone. It's easy to go that route. But like what you have to also consider is offenses right now are just really, really fine-tuned. I mean, there's almost never, at most, one player on the court for either team that is not a threat to score. At the absolute most. Every once in a while, you'll see a JaVale McGee, you'll see a Dwight Howard type, you'll see a DeAndre Jordan, you'll see someone like that. But even most of those guys, your quote-unquote traditional bigs, are much more Steven Adams, Jonas Valanciunas. Like, yeah, they're not three-point threats, but they're going to get you 12 to 15. Like, there's almost no player on the court at any time for either team in any game where they're someone you can double off of safely. And because the great players are still, unguardable with one guy, I mean, you can't really guard the truly great ones with anything. I mean, what do? What used to be a very effective weapon, the double team, has now become almost obsolete. You almost can't do it. I mean, you really are taking your proverbial life in your hands when you double off of anybody right now, because everyone can shoot and more guys are good at finding those open shooters. That's the other thing that's maybe different is, used to be most teams had one, some teams had two good playmakers. Now most teams have three or four. I mean, most guys are very comfortable recognizing where the double's coming from and calmly kicking the ball to the open man. There's still a lot of guys on the court that aren't able to do that on a consistent basis, but there's almost nobody on the court at any given time that can't beat you if you leave them open. And so, yeah, you could say defense is this or that, physicality is this or that. You can go ahead and do that if you want. And I'm not saying that there isn't some element of truth to that line of thinking, but it's certainly not the whole picture. And if you're not acknowledging what I've just explained over the last 5 minutes, you're really not paying attention. Because the truth is, I mean, think about like everyone's favorite era of the NBA, right? Everyone likes to talk about, the 90s. 90s sucked. It was the crappiest era in NBA history. It really was. Like, look at the 90s Knicks. They were, somewhere between the third and fifth best team of that whole decade, right? They were competitive, championship contender, never won one, but championship contender most of the decade, right? Really good team. Who right now, if you were playing the 90s Knicks, why wouldn't you triple team Patrick Ewing? Like, okay, one night out of three, John Starks will have it going. What are you afraid of Charles Oakley? Are you afraid of Anthony Mason? Are you afraid of Travis Knight? Like Charlie Ward? Chris Childs? I could go on. Like, are you afraid of any of these guys?
I would have been afraid of Anthony Mason, but for a completely different
reason. If we're going to get in a fight, I'm terrified of him. He's a great bodyguard. I'm not afraid of him scoring. Like, I mean, I named more guys on that one team, which was a great team in that decade, who were offensive negligibles to nothings, than you could name in your average NBA game between two teams today. Like, there were more guys on the 90s Knicks team, many of them starters that I just named, or significant rotation players, who were non-threats on offense on one team than you would find in maybe half a night's action in the current NBA. I mean, that's the biggest difference when people talk about what's different now compared to 15, 20, 25 years ago. That's the biggest difference. The role players are much more dangerous to leave unattended than they used to be. And I think that that's something that is reflected in these scoring numbers. Look, Rich, we start doing these daily reports for Broken Controller Media out of Wisconsin. We started that this week. We're looking at all these numbers, and what we're seeing is what used to be like if you were averaging like say 110 and 111 a game as an offense, you would be near the top of the league. That brings you near like in the 20s somewhere right now. Yeah. Maybe the high 20s, like 24, 25, something like that, somewhere in that range. I mean, you got to score 115 to be a league average offense right now. And you probably have to, score that to win most games. I mean, we see teams who are averaging 115 a game with losing records. I mean, it's
when
crazy.
Did you think you would see that?
I thought it would just be going back and looking at the hair years of the 70s, which I wasn't alive for. I thought that was the only way I was going to see 120 to 115 on a regular basis ever.
I love the 70s, and for that reason. And not only that, there was no three-point shot to inflate those offensive numbers.
Right.
Teams were throwing up 110 to 115 a night.
Yep.
Without a three-pointer.
Yeah. Yep.
It was a great offensive era, and the defense was tough, and the defense was physical. You aren't allowed to be as physical defensively, and it's not a bad thing. Hand checking could just, you have someone with strong hands, you can just encapsulate a player and not let them get anywhere. So there's not as much defense played in the regular season as in the playoffs, but
that's always been the case. I mean, even back in the day, that was the case.
Right.
Because
that was my point.
Yeah. I mean, like, you do have to remember they are playing for 5 straight months, 6 straight months. You start the season end of October. If you're in the finals, you're finishing the year at like the late end of June.
Yeah.
June 20 something.
And the differences are you would double team people then, and it was effective. You can't do it now.
Well, yeah, because you can't double off anybody.
Right. Going back to your point, even the decent teams have wing players that can hit open shots.
Right.
So doubling is near impossible. You can trap.
Yes.
And good teams do it, and they do it well.
Yes, you attack the ball handler more than you used to, trying to create turnovers, and we're seeing that too in the numbers. Turnovers are pretty high right now. Most teams are averaging somewhere around the 15 game mark,
which I don't think is that high.
It's really not when you think about it. You're right.
When teams used to run and gun, they were regularly near 20 a game.
Yeah.
Now a bad team has 18.
Right.
But it doesn't matter. It's a fun era.
Yes.
Every era is different. Yep. That doesn't mean it's terrible. It doesn't mean it's worse. It doesn't mean anything, but it's different.
Yep.
And that's part of the evolution of the game. Sorry.
Right. And every era, like you said, is different. Every era is going to have its own style, its own approach. And, one thing we're seeing now, I think we're moving out of the quote unquote 3-point era and more into the modern big man era. So I think you're melding what you saw maybe 20 years ago with what we've seen over the last 10 years into a new style. I think it's going to be harder for small guards than it's been in recent years, not because anything is going to change to make them less effective, but because we are getting more and more big guys who are capable of doing most of what those guards do, with the fact that now they're 6'11", 7 feet. So, look at Jokic. I know when he's healthy, he's injured right now, but Karl-Anthony Towns. Look at Joel Embiid. Look at some of these guys we're talking about. We're about to see Victor Wembanyama. It's a whole different game. Victor Wembanyama might be as good on the perimeter as Klay Thompson, but he's 7'4".
Oh yeah.
It's
not to say there's not a place for the small guard, because I'll tell you what, if you've got a lights out shooter, he's gonna at the very least help your bench.
Always.
So there's always a place for one. The thing is, every team wanted to be a 3-point shooting team because they saw Golden State do it. They're like, oh, 3 points.
Right.
We'll make it harder. We'll build up a bigger lead. But these teams didn't shoot like Golden State. That's the problem.
And they didn't defend like Golden State. Golden State's defense has always been great. You talk about trapping a minute ago. They're as good as there is at that.
Yes.
They're always a great trapping team.
And it's nice to see bigs be relevant again in the league. It really is.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a very long time since we've had a crop of front court players like this. But you have a lot of good ones right now. I didn't even mention some of the guys like the next tier down, like the Valanciunises and the Steven Adams crowd and guys
Zubats.
like that. Zubats, Al Horford is still very good at his stage of his career. Zubats, yeah, you mentioned him. I mean, there's just a lot of them. It's a good league right now. It really is. And I'll tell you what, getting a bird's eye view of some of these numbers these last couple of days, I mean, Boston's crazy. Boston's averaging, like I said, 121 a game, and they're shooting like 50% for the season as a team. And we're not 5 games in anymore. We're 20, 22 games in. We're a quarter of the way through the season.
Right.
I mean, it's nuts.
Putting those together, I saw a game. It was Cleveland and someone, and the numbers were almost identical.
Yes.
And then I look at
Cleveland,
shooting percentages were identical.
Cleveland and Toronto. Yes, that's exactly who it was.
And then I look at the Boston game and I look at the disparity in numbers, and I'm like, this could be a 20-point win easily, if more.
You're not wrong.
It's amazing what they're doing.
No, it's good stuff. It really is. It's really good things. All right, let's go ahead and take our first break. We'll come back. We got a lot more to get to. Baseball hot stove. The rich get richer. We'll react to that. Also, we'll go through some of these NBA games. We got the question of the day. News you can use. Top 5. Lot to get to. Just getting started. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. That's 800-741-9557. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. That's 800-826-5884.
All righty, we're back, and the rich get richer. Jose Abreu has signed with the Astros. You know, this almost doesn't seem right. I mean, if I was going to give you a list of teams that he would fit in perfectly with, the Astros would have been like at the top of that list probably. And now it's a reality, signing with the champs. Look, I don't know what's going to happen with Verlander yet, but this team's going to be just as dangerous next year, Rich. I mean, This team
They
is
are.
built to last. They're not going anywhere.
They are. And apparently, from reaching out to some of the players, everyone he talked to, and he spoke to half the team yesterday, and they all said this guy's going to be the perfect fit in that clubhouse.
Yeah. I mean, and think about their lineup right now. Where are you hitting him? I mean, he's probably gonna be like somewhere between 6 and 8. Think about that.
Does it matter?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're gonna hit this guy somewhere near the bottom of your lineup because that's how good the lineup already was. Like, if he had signed, let's just take another good team. Let's say he signed with the Mets, or let's say he signed with the Yankees.
You would have loved that, wouldn't you?
Well, I would have liked that, but like,
how could you not?
But my point is, if he had signed with either of those teams, both playoff teams, both 100-win teams, would well, the Yankees might have just been on. No, I think they both won 100. But anyway, both good teams. He would probably be somewhere between 4 and 5 for either of those teams. This guy might bat 7th. I mean, think about it. You have Bregman, you got Altuve, you got Alvarez, you got I'm forgetting one. I mean, that lineup is so loaded. It's insane, man. And now they just got so much better.
They did.
And I'm happy for Abreu. He's played for a lot of crappy teams for a lot of years.
He has, and I would really, again, I hate to say this because it sounds like a broken record. Last year I wanted it for Dusty. I wouldn't mind seeing him win.
Yeah.
It wouldn't bother me in the least.
No, it's crazy. I mean, now I'm looking at pulling up right now, trying to find this projected starting lineup because I know I'm forgetting a couple here. Pena. I forgot about him. I mean, this lineup's gonna be crazy.
Gurriel.
Yeah, where is he? I don't even see him on this lineup. Whoever did this is not doing a good job.
I mean,
yeah,
it's loaded.
It's loaded.
That lineup is loaded.
I mean, where he's gonna bat is anyone's guess, but it's probably somewhere. If I was gonna pin it, I would say 6. Having Jose Abreu type of player batting 6th for you.
That's criminal.
Let's just say that's not nice.
It really is. If I were to tell you a longtime veteran player who's great in the locker room, has power, and hits home runs every year, was available and signed, who do you think he would have signed with? Carlos Santana. He signed with the Pirates.
Arrgh.
Are they actually going to try to put a couple pieces around all that young talent?
They might.
Are they going to tease me?
Oh, they're definitely going to tease you. There's no question about it. They got to throw out. They got this thing down pretty good. Every 5 to 10 years, they throw out a tease. They might compete for the wild card one year. They might even slip in the year or two. They got this down to a science, just enough to think, okay, maybe they're changing. They're not changing.
Just enough to take my money.
That's right. That's absolutely right. It's like a casino.
Yeah,
you win just often enough and just enough amounts to keep coming back for more.
I would gladly give it to them, though. Hey, who did your Mets meet with yesterday?
I believe they met with Big Jake, didn't they?
No, they met with Carlos Rodon. Big left-hander.
Yeah.
Had a meeting with the Mets.
This
is following Justin Verlander. So this tells me they want
backups.
They want to win, and they want one of them to pair with Scherzer in the top of the rotation. Does that mean they're not confident in DeGrom?
I wonder if they're not confident in DeGrom.
Or confident that they will be able to sign him.
Right. No, I know what you meant. I wonder it's either that or they just want to go with the big three. Because that could be the approach as well. I don't know what's going to happen with DeGrom. I've not had a great feeling about it from the beginning. I feel like, and when I say not having a great feeling, I don't mean like a negative feeling as a Met fan. I mean in terms of I don't have a good sense of what's going to happen one way or the other.
Well, the hot stove talks about the Mets, Yankees, Rangers, and Cubs have been tied to DeGrom. Throw Tampa Bay into the mix. DeGrom's reps have spoken with the Tampa Bay Rays, and they're going to speak again. And I think they're luring him with the idea that why don't you come back to your home state? And we're not going to tax you.
You know, it always amazes me that lack of a state income tax is not a bigger deal in sports signings. I would think that Florida, Texas, and a handful of other states that have that. I think there's maybe one other, but like I would think they would have such a recruiting advantage. I mean, because I know the Fed tax is the one that's the bigger one, but like a state income tax is somewhere in the, 5 to 20%, 15% range, depending on where you are. And in that income bracket, whatever, most states have a progressive income tax like the federal one is. So, whatever you're talking about is going to be the top end of their state range. And I mean, let's just say it's even if it was, let's say 10%, that's still a big number if you're talking making $30 million and, half of that's going to be made at home. So, cause you obviously get taxed on a per game basis. That's why they call it the jock tax. Cause they get like 40 tax bills because they play in all these different cities. They get a tax.
Okay.
bill.
So let's say 5%. That's 15 million a year.
Well, that's what I mean. If you take 30 million,
1.5 million a year.
Right. If you take 30 million and you divide that in half, that's 15 million that you're taxed at 10% on. Yeah, it's 1.5 million. Like you said, that's a lot of that's not nothing. Right.
I know. Now I'm hearing a lot of talk, and I don't want to overdo the baseball today, but I just have a bunch of stuff I've been sitting on. I'm hearing a lot of talk about the Yankees. They are serious about grabbing DeGrom. Yeah, New York bidding war would work in DeGrom's favor, but what does that leave them with Aaron Judge?
Well, certainly the Yankees can do whatever they want financially if they choose to.
The old man would have. I don't think the son will.
Right. Personally, I think that the Yankees are going to do whatever they can to keep Aaron Judge. I don't know that will preclude them from signing Jake, although I don't think Jake's going to go there. I personally think if he goes anywhere, it's going to be back to his home state, like you were talking about before, or perhaps to a West Coast team. One thing with a guy like Jake, who's in his mid-30s, has a lot of injury history, that warmer, more temperate climate could help him stay healthier a little bit more. That's why you see in basketball a lot too. A lot of guys go to Phoenix near the end of their career and have a bit of a resurgence. You saw it with Shaq. You saw it to a degree with Chris Paul. Like a lot of times that warmer climate helps these older guys stay a little looser, a little longer.
It does.
So that, not that Florida is cold, but it's certainly humid, whereas the West Coast is temperate.
Yeah, which is one of the reasons so many players want to see a team in Vegas.
Right.
Because let's get another city with that same kind of climate.
Oh, but Vegas is so hot. That goes beyond.
So is Phoenix.
No, the both of them. I agree. Like I wouldn't go anywhere near either one of them. Like I get people talk about the dry heat versus the humidity. Look, if it's 120, I don't give a crap. It's balls out.
Guess what? I don't disagree, but I will tell you a story. Of course, when I lived in Phoenix, I ate terribly and didn't take great care of myself, but I walked a lot. I was in the best shape of my life. Yeah, typical 115-degree summer day in Phoenix. Fine. I handled it. It's not the most comfortable, but I handled it. I also lived in Texas. And did you ever have a day where it's 97 with 100% humidity and walk out the door? 5 seconds later, I'm having trouble breathing.
Oh yeah.
Give me the heat over the heat and humidity anytime.
Yeah, I'll take.
Yeah, they're both hot,
Yeah, I'll take.
which is
neither.
why I'm in neither place.
Yeah.
But,
I'll take neither, please.
but if I had to take one,
I think
lose the humidity.
The hardest time I've ever had was absolutely in Vegas. I went there in 2007 during the summer for a vacation, and I thought I was going to die of pure heat stroke. It was like 120 all day, every day. No thanks. You can keep that crap. But hey, to each their own. All right.
We got time for one more.
What do you got?
Baseball thing.
What do you got?
There's a dark horse for Xander Bogaerts. Who would you think it would be?
I would say.
And who's making a lot of noise?
Well, the Padres made their noise.
Yeah. And they're continuing to. They want him.
Yep. They're really going for broke here, the Padres.
They are. Well, they have a shortstop that gets injured.
Yep.
And might be better off in the outfield where he has played. Or they could put Bogaerts at second and move Cronenworth to first if Josh Bell doesn't re-sign. I think this team's just trying to reload.
Yeah, it's possible. It's definitely possible.
That would hurt the Red Sox. That's a killer pickup.
Oh,
if they can get.
Oh,
it.
That would be brutal. Although it would hurt them a lot more if he went to a contender in the AL. Like, you know. Like if
it would.
I mean, if he ended up with, say, Seattle, for example, which is another team I've heard rumored to be in the mix. That would be.
They've got the best They got a shortstop who's going to be there for the next 15 years, but there's no reason Bogaerts can't play second.
Well, yeah, you just play him at second. I mean, at a certain point,
or third,
right? Or third. At a certain point, a player of that caliber, if you have a beat on him and you think you can get him, you figure out the defensive alignments later on.
Josh Bell,
guy's
came in the big trade. He is a beast. Does he stay in San Diego or does he go elsewhere? A lot of teams like him.
Yeah, I mean, I could see why. Now he plays what position? Is he an outfielder?
First. He's first base.
Yeah. Okay.
With Abreu off the board, he's got to be a candidate for someone.
See, I still think the Mets need a power hitting third baseman. You can't really put him at third, but I like his game now.
How about Brandon Drury at third? Justin Turner.
Justin Turner would be awesome.
I mean, Drury had 28 homers, 87 RBI, and nice OPS.
Yeah, either one would be great. I'd be down for either one. But I would really like Justin Turner to kind of come back and finish where he started. That would be poetic too.
And why have the Yankees not really reached out and said, Andrew Benintendi, we've had you here for a while and we want to keep you?
Man, wouldn't that be something? Benintendi being a free agent.
Why? Because he doesn't hit 30 home runs?
Yep. That's all there is to it.
He's 28. He's going to get a long-term deal. He's not done. And I don't know why the Yankees aren't jumping on that unless you really want the most one-dimensional team in baseball.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got the question of the day next. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens and you need money. What do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can loan up to $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, get your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
FanDuel has eclipsed Amazon. I am KO, back in 1 minute with your sports question of the day.
If you have diabetes and you're on Medicare, you may qualify for a free continuous glucose monitor system. Managing your diabetes is crucial to your health. The new CGM systems can automatically manage your diabetes better for you. And by using a CGM system, you can eliminate forever one thing most people with diabetes hate the most: finger sticks. Now it's possible to manage your diabetes better, end the painful finger sticks, and get a new CGM monitoring system at little or no cost to you. We even provide in-home delivery and do all the insurance paperwork for you. Now is the best time to manage your diabetes better and get your continuous glucose monitor. Call 800-438-1391. 800-438-1391. Paid for by U.S. Med.
During Super Bowl 56, sportsbook FanDuel was taking 52,000 bets per minute. A few Sundays ago, FanDuel took more than 70,000 bets a minute. That's more than twice as many transactions as Amazon does per minute on a typical day. But American football isn't the only sport generating interest among bettors. Over the last 12 months, bettors in Illinois alone wagered almost $410 million on soccer. And that interest is likely going to be bolstered over the next few weeks, as a Morning Consult survey reports 10 million U.S. adults are projected to bet online during the World Cup. Question for bettors: which sportsbook do you prefer, FanDuel or DraftKings?
First of all, that's amazing that they do more transactions than Amazon. That's crazy. That's point number one. I like DraftKings better. That's the one I generally use. Jim turned me on to it a couple of years ago. Now, that said, I mostly use Resorts World because it's a local business and I like to support local. But of those two, I like DraftKings better. I think their interface is easier to use. It works better on my phone. So I'm a DraftKings guy, but both, of course, are, pretty spectacular.
I have never used DraftKings.
Okay, so you're a FanDuel guy.
I am. And not as much, but I am. There's a couple things I use. Although I've heard good things. The numbers are staggering.
Oh, they're amazing.
I cannot believe that many people are just doing this.
If there's something to be said for the effect and power of advertising, they are a shining example of it, because if nothing else, they've been dogged, persistent, spending untold billions for the better part of the last decade, advertising absolutely every place.
And no matter what sport I'm watching.
Yep. Oh,
I'm watching a basketball game. I got the DraftKings.
Yep. Something or other.
I got Kevin Weeks yelling at me on an NHL game. They're the partner of the NHL. I mean, DraftKings, it can be football,
Yep. FanDuel, DraftKings.
baseball,
Yep.
everything. DraftKings is the most out there, as is FanDuel.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, a lot of times I just use the casino,
Right.
the one near you.
Resorts World.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the app I use most on my phone when I place a wager.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
Because it's the easiest to navigate.
Yep.
I think I signed up with DraftKings and they're like, well, we got to do the money thing. And I couldn't use a card and I couldn't do this and I couldn't. And it was just like, I just threw my hands in the air. I'm like, I got two of these.
Yep. There you have
I don't need a third one.
No. That's a very true statement. I mean, look, the one thing that's great about sports betting, I think that my favorite part about it is it keeps you engaged in games. It's a good way, I think, for people. And now everyone's going to come at this from their own perspective. My perspective here is very academic. And what I mean by that is this: for someone in my position, for someone who talks about sports every day for a living, right? It's important to have, and even if you have to artificially create them at times, reminders or reasons to tune into things that you're not just going to automatically tune in for, because you got to talk about a lot of stuff. So the best way to do that, in my opinion, if there's 15 games, like tonight, there's 13 games in the NBA, for example. We'll talk about that later. If I want to keep up with all that stuff, the best way to do it is to put $2, $1, $3, some small amount on each game. It's not about the money, but it's enough that, like, I'm going to check it to see, well, how am I doing in this one? How am I doing in that one? So you kind of create tie downs for yourself. Now, people who aren't in this profession, which is most people, of course, it's more of a thrill. It's the thrill of the chase, the thrill of what gambling is, right? So, but for me, I like it because I'm able to really make myself remember the check games that I might forget about. Like, I might forget about Cleveland and Toronto, but like, if I bet a few dollars on it, I won't. I'll get notifications.
It's exactly the opposite for me, which is funny. But if I bet on a game, I don't want to watch it.
You don't want to see watch pot never boils.
Emotionally invested. I'll watch another game and just see the scores flash by.
That's
funny. But I'm like, all right, I'm going to really get wrapped up in this, and I'll ignore 5 other good games. So, I mean, and you know how I'm laid out with a big screen, a laptop, an iPad. I mean, I'm normally watching 3 games at a time at least.
Oh yeah, no, you're a crazy man. You're a crazy man.
And I have the baseball package, so I watch everything. NHL, I have ESPN Plus, so I see literally every game. I'll watch 3 to 4 games a day, and I do the same thing with the NBA. So I can't just sit and watch one game because I made a bet on it. Like I said, I get too wrapped up in it.
Right. See, I don't get wrapped up in games I've made bets on, but I remember to check on them. Like, whereas I won't necessarily check on a game at all if I don't have any money on it, and it's not a game that's like near the top of my radar. That's what I do it for. I was having a conversation with another industry pro, gentleman I'm friends with for a few years now. He's 35-year veteran of ESPN. And he was telling me that he's a bit concerned with the possibility now with all the new gambling stuff of basically a Black Sox scandal. And I told him that's understandable in certain sports, less so in others. I think that in college sports, if you're not going to pay these kids, you're just asking for it. I think in other sports, I don't think it's that big of a threat, and I'll tell you why. To be good enough to have enough influence to throw a game, what you're likely compensated is so high that it would be cost prohibitive for gamblers to try to pay you off. The reason things like this were more common years ago is because athletes weren't getting paid the same amount of money. And like, if you brought to Joe Jackson an offer of $5,000, that was a boatload of money. That would be like getting paid, you know, like $1 million, $2 million, $3 million today. But like, they weren't making but the equivalent of $60,000, or $40,000, in today's money back then. So like $5,000 was like 20% of your 20% of your annual income. It was a big number.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
And if you remember, most of the scandals in the last half century have been in college basketball more than anything else. And I think college sports would be. I don't see it in the pros because they make enough to the point where they have too much to lose.
Right. And someone who doesn't make that amount of money. Let's take a Matt Ryan. I'm sorry. What's the guy on the Lakers? Is it Matt or is it Mike Ryan? The young wing. Mike Ryan. Let's take Mike Ryan as an example. So ostensibly, there's an amount of money that could potentially bribe someone like that, right? He's on a 2-way contract. He's a young player. He doesn't have a firm future in the league necessarily yet. So like, because that's the other thing you have to worry about is what type of what am I giving up today if I get caught, but what am I also projected to earn the rest of the way? Someone like that, you can't really say he's going to even have a career yet. He's making nothing right now. You could say, okay, we throw him a couple $1 million, maybe he can be bought. But even if he could be bought, I'm not saying he would. I'm just using him as an example. Please don't get it twisted. I'm not implying anything. But like, let's take that example. Even if he could be bought at $2 million, he doesn't play enough to have the desired impact. He's not going to matter in the outcome of the game, most likely. So it's hard. And like, for someone like that to matter, he would almost have to do something so obvious that it would immediately arouse suspicion. He'd have to like hold the ball on an inbound where 5 seconds. So he'd have to like step out of bounds. Like, because what's he going to do? He's not going to have the ball in his hands much. He's not going to be on the court, most likely in the important game deciding time of the game. Like, how is he going to, like, you can't. So I don't see it. I really, it's not something I worry about too much at all.
I don't either. In fact, a friend of mine, this is interesting, sent me an article yesterday about Ron Artest as a rookie. Had a part-time job working at Circuit City.
Oh, I remember that. That's a trip down memory lane.
Yeah, they asked him why, and he said, well, for the discount on electronics, of course. And he was found out by everyone. It caused too much of a stir, and the Bulls put a stop to it. But the base rookie salary now is $450,000.
Right.
I don't think someone has to take a second job,
probably,
or do something to risk that, because this is only your first contract.
Right.
And that's an undrafted rookie.
Right. That's the bottom of the barrel. Right.
Right. If he knows deep down he's not going to be in the league, and the gamblers do as well, like you said, who's going to touch him? He's not going to have any impact.
Right. There's no benefit to the gamblers at that point. So now the one thing I will say, and a lot of people, this is the flip side of this coin, a lot of people use this as justification for why Pete Rose should be back in baseball. I don't agree with that. Now, I've always said Pete Rose should be back in baseball because as far as I know, he bet on this team to win. But I think...
But we don't know.
But we don't know. But
right. And I agree he should be back. And I've felt that way a long time.
But here's the argument.
But this is the capper to it. They're in bed with gambling companies now.
That's fine. But you have to police even more players' involvement in gambling than you did in the past, because now that it's so pervasive, you absolutely cannot have a player betting on games they're going to be participating in, because they can only bet one way, right? One of two ways. They're either pro or anti their team. And if they're anti their team, they're going to do something to jeopardize it. That you can't have. So I don't think that because now the leagues are in bed with these gambling sites, all of a sudden it's like all bets are off. Everyone can go and do what they want. No, that still has to be a top priority, maybe more so than ever.
With so much 24/7 media, cameras everywhere and eyes all over the place, I think it's easier to find them today.
Oh, it would be
I really
it would
do.
be much easier to catch someone if they did this. I agree. But
Yeah, the
but
smart players have someone betting for them.
right. Well, yeah, so it's basically a fancy way of money laundering, essentially. But like,
Yeah,
is basically what it is. But like,
but I'm not naive enough to think it doesn't go on,
well,
nor do I care.
well, see, I do care if a player who has the ability to influence the outcome of a game is betting against his team. I don't care if they're betting for their team.
I think most would.
Yeah, I do too.
Especially the better the player, the more they're going to bet on themselves because
Right.
they have that much confidence
Right.
in their ability.
Of course, exactly. So, but that's the one thing I would be concerned about is making sure that we don't have people who are in the position to influence the outcome of the game betting against their team. That would be something I would say is very important to keep an eye on. But as long as that's kept under relative control, I don't really have any problem with it. I never thought gambling of any kind really was immoral or illegal, or should be looked at as like any kind of vice. I mean, anything's a vice if you overdo it, you know. Whether
It's been done for years.
but it's always had this stigma, and I just don't. It's like what? It's just a form of entertainment. You know, some people spend way too much money eating out. Some people spend way too much money going to ball games. Some people spend way too much money buying clothes. I mean, everyone blows their money on something. Why does it matter if you happen to blow your money on gambling versus you have 400 pairs of Jordans and you make 30 grand a year? Wait a minute. Why is that? So, like, it's no
If you're not
different.
hurting a family or hurting anyone, fine.
But my point is, you're probably hurting like in my example of the Jordans, they're probably hurting their family if they have a family and they make 30 grand a year. They buy 4, 5, 6 pairs of Jordans a year. They're hurting their family because they don't have enough money coming in to offset that. So my point is, it's no different. Regardless of what your vice is, if you overdo it and you spend money you don't have in a place that's not essential to your family or your own well-being, it's the same, whether it's at a casino, at Macy's, or at the ballpark. It's all the same difference.
Well, I don't know if you remember this or not, and I don't know how long they were around for, but I was playing football cards every week in the 70s. You know, the ones where you circle the teams.
Okay, yeah.
Pick your 4 teams.
Those I don't recall, yeah.
You put money down on it, you win. If all 4 teams come in against the spread, if you put $1 down, you win 10. Put $5 down, you win 50. Those were all over the place and illegal at the time. I remember betting with bookies when I was young.
Hey.
Illegal. But guess what? Did it hurt anyone? Well, me when I lost, but
right.
Not enough to like change my life. But I don't know. I think the whole gambling thing is interesting, and I think it's overblown.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, for the most part, it's not going to hurt anyone except the person doing it, right? Like, so the only person that stands to be hurt is the person that's engaging in it if they go over the top. And you know, ultimately, that's their problem as far as I'm concerned. Like, that doesn't concern me. It's not my problem if you go out and bet the car payment money and your car gets repoed. Well, that's on you, man. Like, that's not my problem. So, like, I've never liked having it be so heavily restricted in terms of access to it on this basis that, well, people overdo it. Well, that's their fault.
People overdrink.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. You could do this with anything.
People overdo a lot of things.
Right. Exactly. So to me, there's no difference. And Toby agrees. So that's all that matters.
I just feel sorry for any family. I feel sorry for any kid who loses in this, who doesn't get a meal, who doesn't.
No,
that on a societal level bothers me.
And that's fine, but that's no one's job to prevent that by restricting access to what is otherwise a benign form of entertainment for anyone who's in control. Like, I shouldn't have to suffer because you can't control yourself. Regardless of what sad outcome might come from your lack of control, that still shouldn't affect my access to something.
Right. And no, and it shouldn't affect your access. It should affect theirs, but it shouldn't affect yours. And if you notice, a lot of the gambling apps have areas where you can set limits or how much you'll spend a day. And
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately you can't police
you
people
can't
from themselves.
force someone to
Right.
use it.
You can't police people against themselves. Ultimately, you can do the best you
Right.
can to put on railings and safeguards, which they've done. But at the end of the day, if someone's determined to be a moron, they'll find a way to be a moron.
And they'll find a way around
Right.
anything to
Exactly.
do it, no
Exactly.
matter what.
That's right. That's right. So there you have it. Good question today. Coming out
Very.
firing. I love it.
Very. And like I said, I don't use DraftKings, but I use a couple others. And
Yep.
the amounts of money are just amazing. And I love watching odds change when I've made a bet.
Oh, it's so cool. One of the things I've taken to doing is, especially in the NBA, if there's a game where I think one team is clearly better, what I'll do is, and in that case, usually the odds are not in my favor, right? On the money line. So what I'll do is I'll gamble before the gamble. So what I'll do is I won't place my bet before the game, hope the team I think's going to lose gets out to a good start, and then do a live bet on the better money line for the team I think's going to win. Like, say, for example, Milwaukee, I think, is playing the Knicks tonight. Milwaukee's going to kill the Knicks. So if I want to bet Milwaukee to beat the Knicks, I'm not going to get any good odds on that, right? So what I'll do is I'll wait for hopefully the Knicks get off to a fast start, get up 15 or 20, and then get maybe better odds on Milwaukee once they're down in the hole. That's a bet I've become a fan of.
Interesting. I like that.
Now, of course, if that doesn't materialize, then I just don't end up betting that game.
Right.
But but that's what I'll do.
And of course, you're betting intelligently. You're not being compulsive.
Right. And of course, the longer I wait, the better my odds get. Like, obviously, a 20-point lead in the first quarter is not going to move the line all that much because, as we've discussed plenty of times in this show, and Vegas knows this too, a 20-point lead in the NBA is like basically 4 possessions right now. I mean, boom, right. You could go from down 20 to down 4 in 4 possessions. You hit 4 straight threes. The other team misses, or you're down 5 now. It's like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't take long. That could happen in 2 minutes, so it's crazy. So, but if that 20-point leads with 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and I'm still feeling, hey, they're going to do it. Well, man, I'll tell you what. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun.
Do you bet on teams you intensely like?
Yes.
You do?
But only strategically. Like, I bet on them when I think that it's an obvious line. Like, if the Lakers, for example, let's say they were playing a team like I don't know, Orlando, and for some reason the Lakers were like getting points, like they were a 3-point underdog or something. Let's say LeBron was injured. I would bet the Lakers there because I think Orlando's so bad. I would bet them, but I'm not going to bet the Lakers against, say, a like opponent like the Kings or a superior opponent like, say, the Nuggets. Like, unless I'm betting against them to cover.
Okay.
So I will, but only in certain circumstances.
Of course, in the Orlando situation, Ryan might get in the game and then look out.
There we go. There, Ryan's coming in.
You never know what's going to happen.
We already talked about this. Sorry, Ryan. I apologize. We're not calling you Pete just yet. You got to get a few more hits before we call you Pete anyway. You have to matter a little bit more. Oh, man. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. Hour 2 around the corner. Top 5 is next. It's the Gary Ayd Show. Back after this here on The Cave. All righty, what's going on? Hour 2 of the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave, cavetalkradio.com, the Cave Talk Radio app. Great to have you aboard. Gary Ayd, Rich Anselmo, Facebook and YouTube Live. Hour 2, top of the hour. Only one thing that can mean. It's time for the top 5. Jack George, hit it.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time for King Talk Radio's Top 5.
There we go. All right, we got it. What do we got today, Rich?
Well, we were talking about blowouts earlier.
Yes.
This one shouldn't be too hard, but might be a lot of fun. It doesn't have to be a comeback. I mean a blowout from beginning to end. Give me your top 5 all-time favorite blowout games, any sport.
Oh, my goodness. Usually blowouts are not my favorite anything. You're wanting a good competitive game. But
right, but sometimes
it's satisfying. I was happy to see the Broncos in 2016 really hand it to Carolina, yeah. Because I was rooting for Peyton Manning in a big way. Of course, Peyton Manning wasn't really the driver of that. That was Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware and that crazy defense. But I mean, Carolina had no chance. I mean, other than maybe the 2000 Ravens, I don't know if I've ever seen a defense in a Super Bowl in my lifetime just completely make it impossible for the other team to win. I mean, Carolina just couldn't. There was no way they could have won that game. It wasn't going to be possible the way that defense played.
No, it wasn't going to be close. The Seattle win was the same way.
Yes.
Well, that was from beginning to end. You knew it was going to win.
Right. Oh, that
defense. It was defense driven.
Right. And what was different about that one? That's a good one, Rich. What was different about that Seattle defensive win is it was dominated from the back forward. Normally, dominant defenses are from the front back. This was
Ravens,
from the back forward.
Bears,
right.
Yeah.
Even the Broncos. I mean, they were forward back. I mean, Ware and Miller in particular was the driver there. And you look at the Giants, the 2 times they beat Brady in the Super Bowl, what did it? The front 4.
Pass rush. Yeah.
The Seahawks are a unique case in that it was really their secondary. I mean, you just couldn't throw the ball. There was no way to go with the ball.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one. Sticking with football, one satisfying blowout to me was the big win by the Giants in, I think it was 2000 or 2001 against the Ravens. The year they ended up going to the Super Bowl, they won like 40-0 or something. That was pretty cool. Getting to some other sports here. I think the Lakers dominating the Kings in Game 7 after the Ori shot in 2002. That was particularly satisfying for me. I really liked that game a lot. Because that
wasn't a total blowout, but you never felt they wouldn't win.
Yeah, the Lakers were winning relatively comfortably most of that game. It wasn't a 20-point or 30-point blowout, you're right, but it was like a 13, 14, 15-point win, I think. Something in that
it was
range.
One of the most comfortable wins at that.
Yeah. And in that series and rivalry for those couple of years, there weren't comfortable anything for anybody.
No, those were all close games.
So that was why that one stands in my mind. Was like it was like a respite from like being on like high alert the whole time, and especially after everything happened in Game 6 with the Ori shot. And I think what made it even sweeter was and you still hear this to this day for people who remember that game or that series that time. They'll say things like, "Oh, the Lakers were handed that because that was like the Donaghy thing or whatever." It's like, if they were handed it, it was by the Kings. You want to look at what happened in Game 7? The Kings shot like 45% from the free throw line. They missed like almost 20 free throws. So if anyone handed it to them, it's the Kings.
Were there questionable calls in Game 6? Yeah.
There's questionable calls in every game.
But you still had a Game 7, so I never buy that as an excuse.
Well, yeah, I'm talking specifically about Game 7. And if Divock doesn't make a perfect kick-out pass to Ori, Game 6 doesn't matter either.
Yeah.
I mean, that tip out was like a kick out pass. It was perfect. But no, game 7 of that series was a good one for me. Oh, I got another one. Another game 7. 2004. Red Sox blow out the Yankees in game 7, completing the 4-0 comeback. That game 7 was a total domination. I forget the score, but it was not close. I think it was like 7 or it might have even been 10-0. Let's take a look. I'm gonna look that up real quick because it
wasn't game 3 of that series like 19-10, the third game, Yankees.
Let's see.
And everyone thought the Yankees were going to blow it out. And yeah, the Red Sox, I think, did put it to them.
They put it to
in
them.
One of those wins.
I'm pretty sure it was game 7. Because I think the others were pretty close. The thing that was crazy about this series, of course, is everyone, they were down 3-0. The Red Sox, the only time in Major League history the team came down from 3-0 to win a series. So here we go. Game 7. Yeah, it was 10-3. Game 7. And then you're thinking about it, right? Game 3 was 19-8 Yankees. 19-8. All the other games were close. Game 1 was 10-7 Yankees. Game 2 was 3-1 Yankees. 19-8 game 3. Red Sox won a close one in extras. Game 4 was 12 innings, 6-4 Red Sox. 14 innings in game 5. 4-2 in game 6, and then by the time they got to game 7, the Yankees' spirits were just crushed, 10-3, and now that made me very happy. I was not a fan of that era's Yankees, so I was happy to see that one. Think of a couple others here. There was a blowout win in the 2010 NBA Finals, I think it was, where the Lakers beat Orlando, and that was Kobe's 5th and final title. And that was satisfying because it gave him one more than Shaq, and of course, we knew that mattered. So,
well, yeah, if Shaq wouldn't have gotten wrapped in public after winning his 4th,
yes,
dude, just show a little class sometime.
Well,
and that's beyond Shaq to ever do.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was really good though. That was really good. All right, so I think that's gonna be a good list. I'm gonna go with number 1 for me was the 2002 Lakers beating the Kings in game 7. Number 2, Peyton Manning winning the Super Bowl against Carolina.
Oh yeah, that was
awesome. So
such a blow. Would Carolina end up with 8 points in that game?
Yeah,
it was a complete blowout.
Bad. Yeah, I mean, the offense barely had to do anything for Denver. The defense was so good. The Yankees losing game 7 to the Red Sox in 2004 will be number 3. I really enjoyed watching the I didn't mention this one before, but watching Tiger Woods win the US Open in whatever year it was, 2000 something, by like 150 strokes was insane. Like that just whatever he won. He won by some ridiculous blowout margin. I don't really follow golf that closely, but I know it enough to know that what he won by that year was so beyond the pale. It would be like winning an NBA game by like 60 points in the playoffs. It would be the equivalent of that, basically. It was just like insane.
So, he had a few of those.
I'm going to put that one in there too, just because of how relatively unprecedented it was. And number 5, here you go local here. I like the Giants beating the Vikings like 41-0. That was pretty cool.
I remember that too. I had the 1970 Knicks in game 7.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
After being blown out in game 6 by the Lakers without Willis Reed.
Yep.
Reed coming back in game 7. He hits those first 2 shots. It wasn't an astronomical lead, but they ended up getting up in the 20s before winning by about 15. but they were up that much, and I never felt the Knicks were going to lose.
What
that
were you
game,
about
ever.
12? What were you about 12 years old at that time?
Yeah,
Something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that was the year before Buffalo came into the league, and it was my first favorite NBA team because I got to see them.
That's cool.
And yeah, I'm just sitting there going, wow, just wow. I mean, watching Reed limp around and Frazier with a game for the ages.
Oh, I got one more. As everyone knows, I'm not a big fan of Mike D'Antoni or Steve Nash or that Suns team. I loved watching the Spurs lay the smackdown to them in Game 6 of that series. And I love it because everyone complains, well, if those guys don't get thrown out, blah, blah, blah. Well, the Spurs were up 3-2 in that series anyway. Do you think you're going to win 2 in a row in San Antonio? Please.
No.
It was just a matter of you losing in Game 6 or Game 7.
Or losing in Game 7. Yeah. If Phoenix would have been up, I would have said different story.
Different story.
Right.
But
it wasn't.
But it wasn't the wrong call either. By the rules that are on the book, they did the right thing. It wasn't wrong. It wasn't incorrect. Maybe it was a bit Poindexter-ish, like they were being very literal letter of the law, but
yeah,
that's still within, the realm of correct.
And I'm glad to see they're actually cracking down on that now.
Yes. Well, that was sort of the turning point.
Coming out in the court.
Of course
when
not.
The game is going on.
Right, of course not.
And you see much less of it this year. Not the fight, but just in general.
Right.
You see so much less of it, and it's good.
Oh, it is good.
They don't need to be out there.
So there you go. That's a pretty good top 5.
That was very good. I was curious to what you were going to come up with, and that mixed it up quite well.
That's good stuff. Really is.
A lot of times I have stuff written down as potential top 5s.
Yes.
And I normally pull one off my list. I spend way too much time thinking about this. But when you make a point of something in a show, I immediately go top 5.
Top 5. Well, these are hard for me because I don't have any pre-knowledge of any of this. So I have to think about this stuff off the top of my head.
Right.
These are not easy. These are challenging.
When I've done a few, you've usually given me a little bit of a lead.
Yes.
Knowing that my, at that time, coffee-deprived self wouldn't have enough brain matter to think
You're
properly.
up till God knows what time watching games like a madman, so I figure I got to cut you a little slack.
Got to watch those West Coast games, man. Some of them are the most fun.
That's it, man.
I mean, I'm sitting there watching an earlier NBA game and an earlier NHL game. The NBA game was okay. The NHL game was a typical 2-1 overtime game. Not a lot to get excited about.
See, I
watched the late games, and I got that Clippers great comeback against the Blazers. And the Blazers were seriously ahead through like the first 2.5 quarters of that game, and a 9-8 hockey game on the other device. I'm like, gee, why does all the good stuff happen in the West Coast?
That's it, man. Yeah, I really wish they would move West Coast games to like a 6:00 start time. I understand, why they don't, of course.
Yeah, you try to do that in LA and see what happens.
Right.
No one would be there for the tip-off.
Yeah, no, I understand. But I mean, you do lose such a portion of your TV audience, in the second half of these games. I mean, it's just hard to be up till 1 a.m. on like a Tuesday. It just is. Or any day for that matter. But but they don't play those games that late on the weekends, usually. But
I'm just so used to it. I'm just used to it. I'm up.
Okay.
I realize there's always going to be something for me to watch.
Yep.
Whether it's no matter what the sport. I mean, a late baseball game, a late basketball game, a late hockey game. I'm there for all of them. And
guys, there's a TV ninja over here. Gotta love it.
Sleep when I'm dead, I guess.
That's right. We got plenty of time to do it then.
That's right.
All the time in the history of the world. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll go through the NBA. 13 games tonight, couple of games from yesterday to get to. Rich mentioned the comeback from the Clippers. We'll talk about that. A lot of games to talk about today. And the Lakers losing a killer in Indiana, or against Indiana, I should say. We'll talk about that as well. It's the Gary Ayd Show, back after this here on The Cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines. Plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
All righty. Hour 2 of the Gary Ayd Show, about the midway point, a little before, here on The Cave. Great to have you aboard. CaveTalkRadio.com, and of course the Cave Talk Radio app. If you haven't done so already, definitely download that. Just call it Cave Talk Radio in the app or Google Play Store, and you can download that, play it in your car like you would Spotify, and there you go. So, hey.
Are we on YouTube as well?
We are on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
We're on YouTube,
Look at that.
Facebook Live.
We're worldwide here.
Worldwide, baby. All right, let's talk some NBA. So you got the Lakers and Clippers, very different outcomes yesterday. Clippers with a great come from behind win. You were watching this game, Rich. Break it down for us.
Well, the Blazers had their way with it. The first half and through the third quarter. By the end of the third quarter, the Clippers were up by like 13 or 14 points. Or the Blazers were.
You mean? Yeah.
Yeah, the Clippers outscored them 36-17 in the fourth quarter. Oh, man. And you talk about game betting odds, those things fluctuated like crazy during that game. You had Norman Powell having 32 off the bench. A great night. You had Reggie Jackson with 24, 12 assists. Zubats with 12 and 13 rebounds. He's in a slump. And two guys for the Blazers that just threw it all out there. Anthony Simons had 37.
Beast.
Jeremy Grant had 32. This game without Lillard, the Blazers really, I hate to say, came out blazing, but they did. And the Laker game was the night before, and we weren't here. So that was just one improbable shot after another to give Indiana that win. And I can imagine, did you think late in that game the Lakers were going to lose?
I really didn't. No.
I didn't either.
I was very surprised. I mean, that was a good game. And the one thing about it is, of course, everyone wants to point out LeBron and Marthern, the rookie. It's like, okay, you had like one more point than him. It's like one game. So, I mean, but the bottom line is, to me,
See, that wasn't even on my mind.
oh, that's the first thing that has been all over the internet. So, of course, it's the most common talking point. So, it's the first thing on my mind because
I believe it.
my mind comes out based off of what I hear other people talking about. When it comes to this role, my job is to be an amoeba and talk about what people are talking about, not what I personally care about. So, and
See, I didn't even notice how close the scoring was. I was more intent on the game itself.
yeah, no,
I wasn't really looking at socials during that either.
I'm always following storylines and social. When I have a game on, I'm following the reaction on social more than the game itself because that's what people are talking about.
Oh, yeah, and that was rare for me not to be on socials during that game, but I was riveted.
You were in. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was work for me not to be. But that's how I look at games. And maybe that's one of the reasons I don't watch as many games as maybe other people do because, like, to me, when I turn on a game, it's more of a job at this point. Like, it's more of something to like, it's not, I still enjoy it, don't get me wrong, but like I'm focused on certain things. I'm taking notes. I'm writing things down. Like, you know, it's not just I'm like relaxing on the couch drinking a beer. That every once in a while that happens, and when that happens, it's wonderful. Like I did that on Thanksgiving, because I knew we didn't have a show for a few days, so it wasn't going to be as critical to like have every nook and detail mapped out. So I just kind of chilled. But yeah, I'm watching this game. And I'm keeping track of what people are talking about. But Indiana, man, I'll tell you what. They have a pretty good team. When they get Duarte back, I think this team is solid. I mean, everyone was ready to send Rick Carlisle out to pasture last year. What's the old saying? The rumors of my demise are greatly exaggerated. I think Rick Carlisle still knows how to coach. Imagine that.
A little bit, yeah. No, they're playing so well. This team never stops either. And I love that about a team. Dallas got a much needed win last night.
Oh yes, that was
against
a great
the
game
Warriors.
Too.
They needed that.
Yeah,
game.
they did. And Luka Doncic, just your everyday average, no big deal, 40-point triple double. Yeah, nothing to write home about.
You know, getting a late and one. Oh yeah, all in a day's work.
He is unbelievable. Kemba Walker did not play in this game. We'll see when he makes his debut for the.
He may not for the next game or two, from what I've heard.
Right.
So
yep,
we'll see what they're probably trying to get him into shape. You know, it didn't help the Warriors that Steph Curry had an awful game last night. He had 32 in 37 minutes. Jeez.
Terrible.
When no one else does anything, this guy just single-handedly keeps this team in a game. And it baffles me as to how.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I mean, this was really a one-on-one if you really break it down. This is pretty much Luka versus Curry for most of this game. There weren't a whole lot of incredible contributions on either side of this. There were a couple, but like for the most,
Wood had an off night. Tim Hardaway Jr. had 22.
Yeah, for the most part, this was Luka versus Curry, man, and Luka won the battle. Luka's a freak of nature. He's amazing.
With a 40-point triple-double. That's jeez.
This is what
it never stops for this guy.
Well, this is what I always tell people. When you see a game like this, the first thing you should think about is how much energy it takes to do that. I mean, that's an exhausting thing to do. 40 points is a lot of points. It takes a lot of energy to score 40 points. And then you got to do all that other stuff to get the triple-double too. It's insane.
Yeah. The Knicks showed up last night.
Hey, they did.
This was the early game that didn't really interest me because it was just, speaking of blowouts, 140 to 110. Wow. And 110
that's a lot of points.
110 was a defensive watermark for the Knicks.
That's
considering what they're normally doing.
They're giving up about 117 a game. That's true. You know, it's funny. We were talking earlier today about the evolution of the big man in the NBA and how it's becoming more of a thing. Well, sure enough, on the front page of ESPN today, Tim McMahon, their excellent staff writer, has a headline saying Evan Mobley and Jared Allen out to reinvent the big man position. And teams are looking for a different type of big, is a quote pulled from it. Cleveland isn't the only NBA team choosing size over small ball, but with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, the Cavs might have the blueprint for the modern big man duo. So it's like we know what we're talking about or something.
I think so.
Weird.
Well, the thing is, if you have two big men that duplicate each other, you're killing yourself.
Right.
And that's the key. With Allen and Mobley, they play decidedly different roles.
Completely different games, right?
And they excel at different things and play off each other extremely well.
You know what it reminds me of a little bit? And they don't have the third piece of the third stool, so to speak. I guess Kevin Love to a degree, the third pillar on the stool. But I was a big fan back in the day of the trio of Pau Gasol, Andrew Bynum, and Lamar Odom. And these guys remind me of that in a lot of ways. Mobley very much has a Gasol-like type of game. And Jared Allen very much plays like Andrew Bynum did. And,
except without the stupid decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
And the bad knees. So,
well, yeah, that's
that
too.
I think that this is really a kind of reemergence of that. And now Odom was the ultimate Swiss Army knife as that sixth man, kind of spelling both of them. Love brings a little bit of that. Very different game style, of course. Very different strengths and weaknesses. But yeah, I like this cat. In fact, it's really their front court more than the star power of Darius Garland that intrigues me about this team. Because of how different it is. I'm a big fan of it. It's my favorite reason for watching them.
And I love watching Mobley play. He is so smart for a young player.
Very smooth too. Very fluid.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, we got 13 games tonight. Anything jump out to you tonight?
Sixers at Cleveland. I want to see how the Cavs deal with Embiid, who's back and looking good.
Yes, he is.
Clippers have to go on the road, so they have one of those home road back-to-backs, which I personally can't stand. And they're going into Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Portland's playing a road back-to-back, but they're back at Crypto to play the Lakers, so it's not really a travel for them. They're in the same place. Also should be an interesting game. If you'd have asked me a month ago, the game I would have looked at the most this night was the Heat and the Celtics, but no, that's the one when I put together just looked awful.
Yeah, Miami's going to get
numbers
in that game.
wise.
You know what's an interesting fact to me? I was looking through some of the numbers. I'm surprised to see how poorly Atlanta is shooting from the three-point line as a team this year. They're under 33%. Now, just under, but still under 33%.
They chuck them up.
Yeah.
They think they're Warriors East, and they're far from it.
Yeah, they're just East.
Yeah. And that's one of the problems.
Yep.
I'm intrigued with the Memphis-Minnesota game. I don't know if Towns is playing tonight.
No, he's out. He's out 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, there was announced that he'll be out 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, the last I heard late last night
was day to day.
He was day to day.
Yeah. It was. I heard 4 to 6 weeks, and I think also, the good news is he didn't suffer an Achilles injury.
Good, because that puts you out a year
plus sometimes. Yeah, and that's what it looked like when you watched the play.
Yeah, I thought it was serious, but thought, well, let's see what doctors say.
Yeah, at least it wasn't that.
I'm intrigued with the Washington-Brooklyn game.
Really? I mean, Brooklyn has been playing pretty well.
They have, and so have the Wizards.
Yeah, that's true.
and I want to see what happens there. Raptors, Pelicans, same thing. Raptors are actually going to have to play against their old center.
Uh-oh.
But I'll tell you what, for a fair team, the Raptors' wings are so good.
Oh, their wings are tremendous. There's no question about that.
So much fun to watch.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Two surprising teams playing each other, Indiana and Sacramento.
Oh, yeah.
I think this could be a really good game.
This might be one of the best games on the docket tonight. I totally agree. I'm a big fan of both of these teams. Oh, it's 13
there
games.
are so many good games tonight.
You know,
oh, believe me, I know how many games there are.
Oh, we both do, don't we? Oh, man.
We've both put in the time on this.
That's a fact. You know, one thing that's interesting, I saw a headline on this, and I think it's true. Does anyone in the West want to win? Like, it's so weird. There is a range of bad to, I guess they're above average, but like, there's not been one team in the West this year that has jumped out to me as like, oh, they're good. I mean, I guess Phoenix with this latest winning streak is probably.
Phoenix is good. I want to see how good they can be when a Crowder trade happens. Depending on the piece they bring back, they could, if they do this intelligently, which is a question, they can get a piece that could put them over the top in the West.
The Clippers. The Clippers?
No, Phoenix.
Oh, Phoenix. I'm sorry. I thought you said the Clippers. Yeah, no, I agree.
I mean, what happens with Crowder is the key.
Right.
Because right now they have a guy sitting there that's of no use to them.
It's true. And he's a good
player. And if
player.
they turn that into a useful player, look out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Absolutely no doubt about it.
Clippers just need health.
They need health, yes. They need health, and they need Kawhi to, you know, be great when he comes back.
Get off the pot,
yeah,
basically.
it's time. Let's go. It's time. So
I agree, and you know how much I've always liked Kawhi.
Oh, absolutely.
Even well before he was a Clipper. So that's, I mean, I don't know who's going to win the West. I mean, part of me thinks Memphis can walk away with it.
Yeah, it's funny.
If they're healthy come playoff time.
No, Memphis, I think is the best team in the West right now. When they're healthy, I agree. Them and the Warriors. The Warriors, they've been so inconsistent this year. I don't know what to make of them. Sometimes I think they're turning it around, and then other times it's like you're just not there. I don't understand. I really don't.
You've always said that so much of that team depends on what Klay Thompson does.
He's the main cog in that team, man. Like
you know what Curry's going to do.
Right. Well, Thompson makes Curry in a lot of ways because Thompson's precision and expertness at getting open off the ball and quick trigger and efficiency in terms of his movements, because he doesn't take any dribbles. It's not because he can, it's because that's how he plays for this team.
Right.
That coupled with his fact that he's an ace defensive player really allows Curry the freedom that has enabled him to have the career he's had. Curry does not have that type of freedom of movement if Klay Thompson isn't there playing the way he plays. I think Klay has sacrificed a lot. I think Klay has sacrificed a lot of his individual game to the point where people think he's basically a spot-up shooter. When I would guarantee you, in a different situation, Klay Thompson could have done more or less what James Harden was doing in Houston.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt.
Completely.
But that's not
Klay's
his role.
game has not been dependent on Thompson consistently this year. Or Curry's game.
Right.
Because Thompson hasn't consistently been there. He was awful last night.
Yeah, he was terrible. No, I know.
And he just seems to be a step off sometimes. I don't know if he's ever going to come back to what he was.
He was pretty good in the finals. I mean, in the playoffs last year.
He was, and they're going to need that out of him again through the playoffs if they get there.
Right. Absolutely. And I think too that that's why it's cause and effect to me. Like it's no surprise. It should be very linear in people's thinking. The years the Warriors were terrible, Klay Thompson was hurt. The
Right.
year he comes back and he plays pretty well down the stretch, especially in the playoffs, they win. He's inconsistent off his game this year. They're inconsistent off their game this year. It's very linear. It really
it
is.
It is. Curry also has another advantage of Draymond Green.
Yes.
Curry doesn't have to worry about running the offense with Green because one thing he consistently does well is pass.
Yes, that's true.
And so Curry doesn't have to be like, oh, I've got to initiate the offense, get my
Right.
offense. He doesn't have to initiate.
Right. He's got a lot of freedom. And I think if there's ever been a team that its foundation was its 2nd through 4 or 2nd through 5, basically being perfectly constructed to support the number 1 guy, this is that. Usually it's much more top down. This is almost bottom up, this construction.
Yeah, it is.
It's a very
and everybody's saying,
team.
oh, if this team would have drafted Curry, if that team would have drafted Curry.
Yeah, Curry might have been Michael Redd on a different team. Good player. Couple all-stars, but basically a scorer.
Right.
Very well.
He went to the perfect team with the perfect situation.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about it.
And they drafted around him, which was smart.
They've done a great job. There's no doubt about it.
What does this guy need around him to get the most out of him? Because he's special.
Yep.
And they end up putting special people around him, and it works.
It worked. So let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll wrap it up with some NHL and news you can use. It's the Gary Ayd Show back after this here on The Cave.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. That's 800-741-9557. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. That's 800-826-5884.
All righty. What are we looking at with the NHL right now, Rich?
Big schedule, but only one local team played, and the Islanders were on the road and took a 3-1 loss back home with them from the Flyers. And interesting last night, Washington played, and Ovechkin made some history. He got the game-opening goal, which tied him with Jaromir Jagr for the most in history with 135. His second goal, which he got like 6 minutes later, was his 403rd goal as a road player. And he passed Wayne Gretzky for most road goals. I think you're going to see Ovechkin shatter a few more before he's done. And he's 38 years old doing this. Let's let's put this into perspective. This guy's had a great career, and he doesn't look like he's slowing down at all. He is now 101 goals. He's a few behind Gordie Howe, which is not his goal. And he's 101 behind Wayne Gretzky, and he does it next season if he keeps up this pace.
That's interesting. Really is. How old is Sidney Crosby? I know they came into the league around the same time together.
They did. Sidney is 36.
I was gonna say he's a couple of years younger, right?
He got his 101st game opening goal last night, which is a Pittsburgh record, or he tied Mario Lemieux for it. So, yeah, they're both still playing at a very high level.
Yeah, it's true. All right, let's take a look at some news you can use. What do we got today?
Oh, there is some interesting stuff out there.
Uh-oh. Well, what do we got?
Deshaun Kaiser, who was a backup quarterback for Green Bay, he came into the league with Cleveland. He says he discussed 9/11 conspiracy theories with Aaron Rodgers.
All right.
He says, and this is a direct quote, he shut the door, and the first thing that came out of his mouth was, "Do you believe in 9/11?
God.
What? Do I believe in 9/11? Yeah, why shouldn't I?"
Yeah, right.
And Rodgers is like, "You should read up on that." And then we just started talking about the playbook, and I'm sitting there thinking, I have no idea where this is going.
That is crazy. There's so many people that believe that was like a setup or an
I
inside
know.
job. It's insane.
And he said what it ended up being was a thought experiment where he wanted me to go back and look into some of the conspiracies around it. He said they really bonded over that and started sharing some books. And we started talking about a lot of other things like history and business and finance.
Hey.
Wow.
Whatever floats your boat, guys.
That started off a 9/11 conspiracy discussion.
Whatever floats your boat. That's insane.
There are a lot of people who believe it, though.
No, there are. I know there are. It's insane. No, it's true.
And it just makes me wonder why. I mean, what else do I have here? The Dodgers agree to a 1-year deal with reliever Shelby Miller.
Oh, yes.
He's older now. He's 32, but back in his day, he was an all-star with the Braves.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
I don't know if they think they can get something out of him at this stage or not, but it is quite interesting.
Yep, I agree.
Brett Favre seeks dismissal of a welfare lawsuit in Mississippi.
On what grounds?
His attorney says that the Mississippi Department of Human Services groundlessly and irresponsibly seeks to blame Favre for its own grossly improper and unlawful handling of welfare funds and its own failure to properly monitor and audit how organizations used the money. Now, see, I hadn't looked at it like this. He said he included Favre in the lawsuit because it will attract national media attention to the case. So I have no doubt it will do that.
So basically, they're claiming that the prosecution is using Favre basically as a prop.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, whether that's true or not, it's a creative and I think smart legal angle to take.
It is. It is, because you know it's going to get some headlines.
It's an angle you can absolutely credibly argue.
Yes.
Because we wouldn't be talking about this. I mean, we're a perfect example. Would we be talking about this if it was Brett Stevens from Yeehaville, Mississippi? No.
Oh, of course not.
So, it's an easy thing to argue.
Oh, what else do we have here? The Nationals signed a 1-year deal with Heimer Candelario.
Nationals.
Decent third baseman, not the kind of third baseman that a power hitting team would look for. And they also signed an outfielder, Stone Garrett. I'm like, look at the Nationals signing guys thinking they can.
Hey, they're trying to do something, man. Trying to be somebody.
Something, though, is it?
It's something.
I mean,
it is something. It's something. That's all it is.
Is it really something?
Oh no, it's not really something. It's just something. That's really something. No. Oh, well, that's something. You see? So it's the second one.
Yeah. NBA referee Tony Brothers missed a game due to his potty mouth.
Oopsies.
What else can you do to a ref? You can't tee him up. I mean, let's be realistic here.
I saw the blurred out quotes. I mean, yeah, it's fine. Suspended for the one game. He's a ref. They should know better. But if we're being real about it, that was probably fairly benign by comparison to what these players are calling each other all game long.
True. But have you ever called anyone a bitch ass MF on the court?
Probably.
Okay.
I'm sure I have.
Well, then it's fine.
I know for a fact I hear that or something like it 40 times a game when I play, depending who you're playing with. I mean, hell, Patrick Beverly could say that probably 10 times in a minute.
Pretty much.
He
might have it tattooed on himself somewhere.
PJ Tucker, anyone? I mean, let's be real.
I just thought it was funny.
Oh, it is hilarious. And I don't have a problem with the 1 game suspension. Take a game off, whatever.
Dinwiddie had an interesting comment. He said the infraction that drew the technical was a clap. He told the media, quote, "I apologize to Tony Brothers for what seemed to keep him irate, which was a clap. I think he thought it was disrespectful. If you watch the games, you see that I clapped to get the attention of my teammates, things of that nature. So it was nothing personal." Quote.
Yeah, this sounds like it was blown out of proportion and whatever. The camera happened to catch it. That happens sometimes. No big deal.
Cameras catch everything now.
They do.
And that was just one of those unfortunate catches that did it. I forgot to mention during the hockey segment, we'll throw it in here because we can use it. 2 local/state teams have games tonight. Buffalo is at Detroit. And the Rangers are at Ottawa.
Ooh.
So interesting stuff. Draymond Green not happy with the officials. When is he ever?
What else is new? The sky is blue, yes.
Rips the ridiculous, in quote, technical foul he received from the bench in their win over the T-Wolves. And Steph Curry agreed with him, which he doesn't always do. But he said, hey, a rule is a rule. He was hit with a technical in the final seconds of the game, and it was 137-114 win. So why you hit him with this? But you talked earlier about the law is the law, and that's the rule.
Yep.
Well, he jumped up to celebrate a nice shot from Jordan Poole, and he stepped on the court briefly. There was no one near him, but the league is trying to crack down on it, and he got a T. Now we're about 1/4 of the way through the season? That's his 7th technical. 15's an automatic
That's a lot of technical
suspension.
Yeah, it is.
And go ahead.
Look, I think that technical was certainly very, I'll use the term a second time today, Poindexterish. Very much
like that.
By the technicality of the law, it was called correctly. The thing is, no ref in their right mind is ever going to give Draymond either the benefit of the doubt, or, to be honest with you, I'll take it a step further. If I'm a ref, I'm probably subconsciously looking for reasons to get this guy because I hate his guts. Like, let's just be real about it. Like, these are still humans. I know it's not quote unquote professional, but you're not a robot. If a guy's consistently just never shuts up and breaking down your job every minute of every day, it's only natural. And I'm not saying this is what happened or not, but to me, it's only natural to like be looking for a reason to like call something on the guy. And like, by the letter of the law, the ref isn't wrong. Would they call this, if that was Curry celebrating a shot from Green, would Curry have this called on him? Probably not. Or let's just take a regular player. Would Grimes, if he was doing this celebrating for the Knicks on the bench, would they call this on him? Probably not. He's just a regular NBA guy. He's nothing special, but he doesn't have the record, man. Look, at a certain point, your reputation precedes you. It just does. And
it does.
That's just the bottom line. This happened because it's Draymond Green. And technically, by the letter of the law, it's not the wrong call. It's a little tic-tacky, and it probably doesn't get called on someone else. But Green has no one to blame for that but himself.
Absolutely. I agree. I thought it was a ticky-tack call.
It is. Oh, it certainly is.
Your reputation does not...
Like, they don't call that on Tim Duncan. They do on DeMarcus Cousins. They call it on Rasheed Wallace. It's just how it is.
And Curry's demonstrative on the court.
Yeah, but he does it in a much more
he
tactful way.
But he doesn't get in someone's face.
Right. He doesn't yell at people.
Right.
Toby agrees.
And that is the big difference.
That's right. All right, we got time for one more.
We do. Okay, the Blue Jays are nearing an agreement to hire Don Mattingly as their bench coach.
All right.
He suggested he was opening to continue coaching or managerial or front office work. And he seems to think this is a good move. It's a key role on a contender. Your thoughts?
Donnie Baseball. I'm a big fan of having him in the game. I think it's good for baseball. I think he's got a lot left to offer. Happy to see it. And yeah, it's going to be cool to have him on a relevant team, as you mentioned here, instead of, chilling out there in Miami and waiting to die, basically. So,
yeah.
It's nice to have him on a real team. There you have it. Well, good stuff today. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 to noon. It's the Gary Ayd Show. We'll see you then here on The Cave.